Hey guys, welcome back to Geek Space, where today we're going to be ranking every single episode of the Amazing Digital Circus, all the way from the pilot to episode 6. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
It's called a manic episode, and you're getting 3 more seasons! Anyway.
Coming in last place, we have episode 4, Fast Food Masquerade. Released on December 13th, 2024, episode 4 primarily focused on the character of Gangle. The basic premise of the episode is that Gangle gets a stronger happy mask and becomes the manager of a fast food chain named Spudsies. But to be honest, this episode is just the slowest paced of all the episodes in the series. I did really like the cameos from the Bloink Queen and Gummy Goo though. The comedy in this episode was also quite good. I thought that the stupid sauce was quite funny. The scene where Jax goes through the employee re-evaluation was also quite cool. I also imagine that this episode is quite relatable for some people who've worked these kinds of jobs. Gangle herself didn't get an emotional conversation like Gummy Goo or Kinger, but this episode does still give her a chance to have some much needed character depth. This episode is by no means bad, but one episode has to come last, and unfortunately that was this one. So that's why episode 4 lands at last place on my list.
My, it appears a new human has entered this realm!
How do I take this headset off?
Coming in at number 5, we have episode 1, Pilot. Released on October 13th, 2023, episode 1 is obviously the first episode of this amazing show. This is the episode that first introduced us to this amazing digital world and all of the wacky characters living within it. The basic premise of this episode is that there's a newcomer to the circus named Pomni, and that's about all there is. There is a really cool scene with Kaufmo after he abstracts though. The animation in this episode is a little bit outdated, but it still relatively holds up today. But my favourite part of this entire episode has to be the ending. Your New Home playing in the background as Pomni slowly comes to the realisation that she's trapped in the circus forever is so cool. But all of that lands episode 1, Pilot, at number 5 on my list.
Wait, what's that? What the heck? Who did this?
Coming in at number 4, we have episode 5, Untitled. Released on June 20th, 2025, episode 5 primarily focuses on Ragatha. And to be honest, of all the character-focused episodes, this one is the least focused on its character. But the basic premise of this episode is that the cast gets thrown into 6 completely different wacky adventures, such as stargazing, softball, anime, and even a bar. But unfortunately, this episode does feel a little bit fast, and some of the interesting adventures didn't last as long as I would have liked, such as the hunting adventure. I did like the intermission though. That section was really fun. My favourite section of this entire episode would have to be the bar scene though. It just gives a deep dive into the whole cast before they enter the circus. Also, I've just got to say, I didn't like the evil versions of the characters at all, and I don't even really know why. They're just really obnoxious. But all of that lands episode 5, Untitled, at number 4 on my list.
Why aren't you or any of your crew up here?
I'm not sure. Because we're not, NPCs?
NPCs, what are you on about? What are you people? What am I?
Moving into the top 3 now, we have episode 2, Candy Carrier Chaos. Released on May 3rd, 2024, episode 2 primarily focused on a new character called Gummy Goo, and I really like him. His story about realising that he's not real and just an NPC is so cool. And then him getting literally exploded by Caine at the end broke my heart. But a basic synopsis of the episode is that the crew gets sent into an adventure to a candy kingdom to attempt to retrieve some syrup that some gummy bandits have stolen. But I love the car chase, the scene with the fudge monster, and the under the map sections. This episode is also quite funny because it made literally the entire community turn on Jax overnight. The animation improvement from the first episode to this one is massive as well. But for being our first ever out of circus adventure in this show, and everything else I've mentioned, episode 2, Candy Carrier Chaos, goes at number 3 on my list.
Why have you been acting so different lately?
I have, haven't I? I'm normally not too good with memories, but being surrounded by darkness always brings me back to a certain time.
Gaining the silver medal at number 2 is episode 3, The Mystery of Mildenhall Manor. Released on October 4th, 2024, episode 3 primarily focused on the characters of Zooble and Kinger. Kinger lost his wife in the circus to abstraction, and Zooble has body dysmorphia and is trying to find body parts to equip to make her feel right. But a basic synopsis of this episode is that the cast gets sent on a mature, spooky adventure to Mildenhall Manor, where Kinger and Pomni get chased by a giant floating angel head. But this episode was my absolute favourite for a while, until the episode at number 1 released. But this episode is genuinely quite unnerving at some points, with the Theodore Mildenhall tapes. Also, the angel itself is really creepy. The way they did the holding our breath thing at the start and then brought it back at the end with Caine and Pomni in hell was so cool. Speaking of the literal hell section, Possessed Pomni was really cool and definitely my favourite part of the entire episode. Zooble's therapy sessions were also really interesting and funny. But all of that lands episode 3, The Mystery of Mildenhall Manor, at number 2 on my list.
Oh.
Or, yeah, we could all just shoot each other. Here, have guns. I don't care anymore.
Away!
But finally, winning the gold medal at number 1, my personal favourite episode of the Amazing Digital Circus, we have episode 6, They All Get Guns. Released on August 15th, 2025, episode 6 is the latest episode to be released. This one primarily focused on my personal favourite character, Jax. But a basic synopsis of this amazing episode is that Caine's adventure gets ruined, so everyone gets guns and goes into a free-for-all with 3 teams of 2. But this episode is just the best. Each character gets their own moment to shine, since all of them split up into teams. This episode also brings out a new side to Pomni, being her chaotic evil side, which is really cool to see for our main character. Also, I loved seeing Jax and Pomni bond throughout the episode, only to see them have a full-on fight at the end. It leaves a pit in your stomach in the best way possible. Also, I really like the scene where they sing Daisy Bell. Jax's character also gets a lot more depth in this episode, revealing that he thinks everyone falls into character archetypes. Even though a lot happens in this episode, the pacing is still spot on, because the episode is the longest one yet, landing at nearly 34 minutes. But that's why I believe the Amazing Digital Circus episode 6, They All Get Guns, belongs at number 1 on my list. Alright guys, we've reached the end of today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Comment down below your list of episodes because I'm really curious to see what you guys think. Also, while you're down there, it would be much appreciated if you consider subscribing because it really helps me out. But anyway, I hope you have a great day and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye!